Let Paul talk about the gunship.
Yes.
That's his daily life.
Yes, yes. Okay, Paul, you're on. Anytime you want.
This aircraft behind me is a UH-1B. It's set up as a gunship. The aircraft itself was used for troop transport, medevac, or as a gunship. The gun system here is a rocket pod, obviously, and what we call the minigun. The minigun, the barrel would spin. I can get the barrel to spin, yep. The barrel would spin, pick up a round, discharge the old round, fire it, and it would spin around, and it would shoot between 4,000 and 6,000 rounds per minute.
Like a galley.
It's a galloting gun.
Way back in the Civil War, I think they
Yeah, post-Civil War. Yeah, post-Civil War.
Okay, Paul.
Okay. The aircraft itself was originally designed as a medevac aircraft. It has this unusual tadpole shape because the specs called for you had to be able to put a stretcher across the back. So the standard Army stretcher was that wide, was that long, making the aircraft this wide. Okay, and the A model Huey, which was designed strictly as a medevac, that's how it got its shape. The B model Huey had hard mounts put on it for gun systems. The C model was basically a cross between a Cobra and a B model. And the D and the H models were the troop transports later on in the war that was like a stretch, was the stretch version of this B model.
So there was certain models were basically made for certain missions.
Correct.
And there were basically two types of missions, as we just
Well, there were three types of missions if you count troop transport, or what they used to refer to as pigs and rice missions. Pigs and rice was
pigs and rice.
Yeah, transporting people and
in the rice paddy.
yeah, well, wherever.
Wow.
And then that was one mission. The other mission, of course, was medevac, which we discussed, and the third mission was the gunship mission.
What caliber would shoot out of that tube?
The big tube were 2 3/4 inch rockets.
And you had 6 of them on each side?
We had 7 on each side.
7. And could you shoot one at a time?
They usually came out in pairs.
Okay, so you had 4 shots basically, or 3 anyway. From each?
No, you had 7 shots.
Could you fire from one side or the other?
One would come out each side.
Oh, I see. So you actually had 6 or 7 shots.
We had 7 shots.
Or you could fire all 4 of them if you wanted.
Or you could volley all 14 of them.
And what is the bursting range of that? 10 feet?
It had basically the same burst as a 105 millimeter artillery round.
Wow, they come a long way, haven't they?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
They had that was a small warhead. The warheads that we carried were 17-pound warheads. And they basically had the same bursting radius as a 105 howitzer.
If you were firing straight at a target, how many feet would it go before it started dropping or losing?
It started losing
immediately.
Almost immediately. So you really
got to get in close.
We used to get in. We used to fly at about 3. We used to go at about 300 feet, or we'd go treetop level, climb up to 300 feet, roll it over. And we weren't shooting more than 100, 150 yards.
Small arms could catch you very easily if they were...
Anybody with an automatic small arms weapon had an anti-aircraft weapon.
How much fuel could you hold in this?
Well, it was a weight limitation basically, but we would carry a little over, maybe just about an hour and a half worth of fuel.
Okay, a normal acceleration.
At normal flight, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get to the point where you were overloaded?
If you were overloaded, you just didn't get off the ground.
It just wouldn't pick up?
It wouldn't pick up.
Or if it did, it'd pick up 5 or 10 feet and that's it?
It wouldn't even pick up 1 or 2 inches.
Did you ever run into that situation?
There were times when maybe the fuelers had put too much fuel in it or something like that, or a particularly hot day, and the aircraft would just about, you'd have to drag it off the ground.
Okay. Did you fly with a co-pilot?
We have two pilots on the group on the Huey. There was a pilot on the right seat, and the co-pilot was the gunner. The gunner controlled the minigun, the Gatling gun, and he had full set of controls. And then the pilot controlled the rockets, and he dealt with the actual flying of the aircraft and firing of the rockets.
Let's take a look inside the cockpit. What do you call it, the cockpit? Or?
Oh, it's a cockpit.
Okay.
This is a standard Huey cockpit. Nothing special about it. It's all steam gauges. The cyclic is the control here in the middle. This controls the rotor head. Actually, as if I move that, you can actually see the rotor system moving. And the collective on the inside control the pitch and the power going to the rotor system.
So it's a two-hand operation.
It was a two-hand operation. Your foot pedals control the tail rotor in the back, which controlled counter torque. And they only at a hover did they control turning the aircraft. In flight.
In other words, there was a certain amount of air current that pulled and also pushed or kept you steady. That was quite a learning situation. You had to simultaneously work them both at the same time.
Well, hovering was the hardest thing to learn.
Especially hovering under small arms or anything.
We didn't hover. We didn't stay still at all.
No, you moved down, they jumped in, and you took off.
We moved.
I see.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to tell me about this machine? As a pilot?
It was a great, reliable machine. It took a beating. Very few engine. Did I ever hear of very few engine failures? The Lycoming T-53 engine was a very good engine.
And the name of this aircraft is what now? The official name of nomenclature of this?
The official nomenclature is a Iroquois. It's a UH-1 Iroquois helicopter.
Okay.
All right. The Huey came from the fact that the designation for the helicopter was HU-1. And so people used to call it a Huey because it had HU-1 on the pedals. Now, I just checked the pedals on this, and they say Bell, but the old original early Hueys was a HU-1 on the pedals, and that's where the term Huey came from. But it was an Iroquois.
Okay, you have a patch on your leather jacket here that says something about 337, is it? 334. What is that 334?
Right, 334th Armed Helicopter Company.
How many helicopters would you have in that company?
Well, it was an all gunship company, which was somewhat rare and unique, but there was, in this particular company, there were 3 platoons of gunships, 1 platoon of slicks, whereas a lift company like Shell was in would have been just the opposite. It would have been 3 platoons of slicks and 1 platoon of guns.
And what does UTT mean?
UTT was the first gunship unit in Vietnam, and the 334th was just, the UTT was renamed the 334th when he went to a numbering designation. But the first gunships in Vietnam in 1962 were, it was called Utility Tactical Transport Company.
Okay.
So that's where the UTT comes from.
How long was the tour?
The tour generally was 1 year, and I mean almost to the day. I mean,
you were that short-handed already?
No, it was 1 year to the day. You can count if you got into the country on the 17th of July, you were going to leave on the 17th of July 1 year later. And most people, and I'm sure there were exceptions to that, but most people, that's what occurred.
Okay, Paul Mangini, and what's your hometown, sir?
Middletown.
Oh, great. And how far is Middletown from here?
35 miles.
South, west, north?
South.
Okay. I'll be going down there in a couple of weeks. I want to know. But I better plan on 2 hours.
Straight down, no. From here, 35 minutes.
Well, but I'll be coming back from Worcester.
Oh,
Worcester.
Worcester will be an hour. At least an hour.
I'm another half an hour beyond that on the other side.
Okay.
Nice talking to you today,
Nice
Paul
talking to
Mancini,
you.
Chief Warrant Officer 4.
Take care.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.